What if the biggest mistake you were taught about money was this one idea that you have to beg for it? Stay with me because this changes everything. What if Jesus never told people to plead, wait, or shrink themselves in front of lack, but showed them how to speak with authority instead? Not fear, not shame, not endless asking, just a direct command. Three Aramaic words: short, sharp, powerful. And the moment you hear what they mean, the whole old story about poverty and holiness starts to crack. Tonight, I want to show you a different frame, one that says abundance is not something far away, not something locked behind worthiness, and not something reserved for a chosen few. It is something you align with, something you call in, something you stop chasing the second you understand how to stand in it. And before this is over, you will know the phrase, the meaning behind each word, the way to say it, the rhythm to use, and the simple nightly practice that turns this from an idea into an experience. So do not click away. The next few minutes may completely shift how you think about prayer, power, money, and your own voice. Because if what you were taught kept you small, this message does the opposite. It reminds you that your words carry weight, your attention shapes direction, and your energy may be far more powerful than you were ever told. For years, people were trained to believe that wanting money made them less spiritual, that asking for financial freedom somehow lowered them, that struggle was pure and lack was noble. Maybe you heard it too. Pray harder, be patient, wait quietly. Maybe one day provision will arrive. But that mindset leaves many people tired, ashamed, and afraid to even admit what they need. It teaches hesitation where strength should be. It teaches dependence where inner authority should live. And that is why this message hits so hard. The idea here is not that Jesus modeled desperation. The idea is that he modeled certainty. He did not move like someone cut off from abundance. He moved like someone who already understood the flow of life and knew how to speak into it. That is a completely different posture. And once you feel that difference, you cannot unfeel it. One posture says, I hope something good finds me. The other says, I am ready. I receive. I direct. Big difference. Massive difference. One keeps your eyes on what is missing. The other shifts your whole inner state toward what can be created, called in, and recognized. And if you have ever felt a strange resistance around money, like you were told to survive but never to thrive, then you already know why this kind of teaching wakes something up. Because it pushes against old fear. It breaks the spell of shrinking. And it asks a bold question: what if wealth is not the enemy, but a tool that becomes dangerous only when it rules the heart instead of serving the purpose? Think about one of the most repeated lines used to make people feel guilty about wealth, the line about a rich person in the eye of a needle. Most people heard that and walked away with one message: money is bad, possession is evil, and poverty must be more pleasing to heaven. But there is another way to hear it, not as a rejection of wealth itself, but as a warning about burden, attachment, and what happens when possessions own the person. That is different. Very different. The issue is not the existence of resource. The issue is what you cling to, what controls you, and what you refuse to release. In that light, the teaching becomes sharper and wiser. It is not saying abundance is poison. It is saying attachment can choke the soul. Wealth in clean hands can build, heal, support, protect, and free. Wealth in fearful hands can corrupt. That distinction matters. And once you see it, the whole picture shifts. Ancient spiritual communities often understood life as flow, not hoarding. They saw generosity, stewardship, and right relationship as part of prosperity, not begging, not guilt, not endless self denial. Flow, order, alignment. That is why this idea of sacred abundance keeps resurfacing across generations, because deep down, people know lack is not always holy. Sometimes it is just exhausting. Sometimes it limits service, compresses vision, and traps people in stress. And stress narrows everything. It narrows imagination. it narrows options, it narrows faith. So when you hear that abundance can be approached, not with shame, but with clarity and authority, something inside you sits up a little straighter. And honestly, it should. Now, here is where the message becomes direct. The phrase at the center of this teaching is simple: Mamona tavo alai. 3 words, not long. 3 words, not complicated. But the claim is that these words are not merely descriptive, they are active. They move, they point, they carry intention. The whole energy of the phrase is different from ordinary prayer language that sounds uncertain, delayed, or hesitant. This is not the language of maybe. It is not the language of if I deserve it. It is not the language of apology. It is the language of clear direction. And that is why it grabs attention. Because once you hear it this way, you realize how much of your old relationship with money may have been built on emotional weakness, not spiritual strength. This phrase steps into another lane entirely. It says abundance is not something you crawl toward, it is something you call toward you with focus. It says wealth is not always outside you, far away and guarded. Sometimes it is already circling in the form of opportunities, ideas, introductions, openings, repayment, visibility, and timing. And your job is not to collapse in front of it. Your job is to become available to it. Keep listening, because the next part is where the phrase opens up. Once you understand what each word carries, the whole sentence stops sounding like a chant and starts sounding like a precise instruction to your mind, your body, and your reality. And that is where this gets really interesting. Mamona points to material resource, tangible provision, what can be held, used, circulated, and seen in the physical world. It is not just coins or bills. It can mean support, supply, access, assets, tools, room to breathe, and practical help that changes real life. Tavo means come, arrive, flow, move in this direction. It has motion inside it. It does not sit still. It pushes energy forward. It feels less like a wish and more like a command with momentum. And ally means toward me, into my field, into my lived reality, into my experience here and now. Put together, the phrase carries a simple force: material abundance, come toward me, toward resource, move into my life, provision, find me now. Notice what is missing. No apology, no panic, no shrinking, no language of unworthiness, just direction, just clarity, just a signal sent with intention. And even if you look at this through a practical lens rather than a mystical one, the impact is still strong, because language shapes expectation. Expectation shapes perception. Perception shapes action. Action shapes results. People who speak from defeat often miss openings they would have seen in a stronger state. People who speak with clarity often act faster, notice more, and hold themselves differently. That does not make the phrase less powerful. It may actually reveal part of why it works. Your words teach your nervous system what to prepare for. Your inner posture teaches your mind what to scan for. Your repeated focus tells your life what matters. So, yes, this phrase sounds spiritual, but it also lands in a very practical place. It trains you to stop broadcasting lack and start holding the frequency of reception. That is why the deeper shift is not only about money, it is about identity. A person who constantly asks from fear feels separated from the good they seek. A person who speaks with grounded certainty behaves as if they were made to participate in life's abundance, not stand outside it. That is a huge change. It does not mean arrogance. It does not mean greed. It means remembering your dignity. It means refusing to make lack your religion. It means understanding that being resourced allows you to live with less panic, more choice, more generosity, and more power to carry out what matters. This message says that Jesus modeled a consciousness of alignment, not helplessness. He moved as one who knew that divine life is not stingy, not chaotic, and not interested in keeping people trapped in fear. And when you really sit with that, the emotional impact is massive. Because many people have been living as if struggle itself proves faithfulness, when in truth, struggle often just drains the very energy needed to build, serve, and create. Let that sink in. You are easier to control when you are exhausted. You are easier to manipulate when you feel undeserving. You are easier to silence when you think asking for provision is somehow selfish. But when you begin to feel that your life is allowed to hold overflow, not just survival, something changes in the way you pray, the way you work, the way you choose, and the way you walk into the day. And that is the hidden turn in this entire teaching. It is not only a phrase, it is a recovery of inner permission. Some people will hear all this and say it sounds too mystical, too bold, maybe even too strange. But pause for a second. Everyone already knows that words affect human beings. A harsh sentence can close a body in seconds. A loving sentence can calm a body just as fast. A repeated belief can shape behavior for years. A label spoken over a child can become an identity. So, why is it suddenly unbelievable that words spoken with emotion, repetition, and conviction can affect how a person experiences life? Whether you frame it as energy, vibration, focus, or intention, the principle is familiar. Sound changes atmosphere, language changes state changes behavior, behavior changes outcome. Add vision to that, add repetition, add embodied feeling. Now you have a practice, not just a thought. Some people also point to the way observation changes experience, how attention itself alters what becomes visible, meaningful, and actionable. In simple terms, what you repeatedly focus on becomes easier to notice, name, and move toward. And when a phrase carries strong emotional charge, the effect deepens. Your body listens. Your mind organizes around it. Your choices begin to echo it. So if you speak words of lack every day, do not be shocked when you feel blocked. And if you begin speaking words of clear welcome, do not be shocked when your posture shifts, your confidence returns, and new openings suddenly seem to appear from places you had stopped looking. Watch this part closely, because this is not only about magic language, it is about training your entire being to stop rehearsing scarcity. Now let's make it practical. Pronunciation matters here, not because there is one perfect accent, but because sound carries feeling. Say it slowly, ma mona ta vo alai. Let the first word land low and grounded. Ma mona, not rushed. Let it settle in the chest. Feel the weight of it, as if you are naming something real and physical, not abstract. Then Tavo, crisp at the front, open at the end. It has movement. It pushes outward and pulls inward at the same time. Then a lie. Softer at first, then more pointed, like you are bringing that flow right into your own lived space. Mamona Tavo alai. Say it again, slower this time. And then once more with more conviction. Not loud for the sake of loud, clear, directed, steady. If it helps, stand while you say it. Open your chest, relax your shoulders, let your breath drop lower. Speak like you mean it. Speak like you are not ashamed to receive. This matters because half of what blocks people is not lack of desire, it is conflict. One part of them wants abundance, another part feels guilty for wanting it. One part wants relief, another part thinks struggle is more spiritual. That conflict leaks energy. This phrase is meant to end the split. It gathers your attention, it gathers your emotion, it gathers your body into one line of intention. And when that happens, even before any outer result appears, something powerful begins. You stop speaking against yourself. You stop canceling your own prayers with fear. You stop whispering smallness over your future. Here is the simple practice. If possible, do it at sunrise when the day is just opening and the mind has not yet been crowded by noise. Face the east if you can. Place your right hand over the area just above the stomach, the center many people feel when something hits them deeply, when courage rises, or when fear tightens. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe in slowly. Imagine warm gold light filling that center, not as fantasy, but as a way of focusing the body and calming the mind. See that light becoming practical blessing, money, opportunity, relief, a paid debt, a new client, a phone call, an opening, a returned payment, a fresh idea that becomes income. See it in forms that make sense in real life. Then open your eyes and say the phrase 3 times, Mamona Tavo Alai, not as a plea, as a clear direction. After the third time, stay still for 3 minutes. No overthinking, no mental argument, no checking whether you did it right. Just stand there and receive. Let the silence do its work. Let your body learn what calm expectancy feels like. Then go into the day with your eyes open. This part is important. Do not treat the practice as separate from life. The practice is meant to change how you move through life. Answer messages, follow nudges, make the call, send the proposal, revisit the idea, check the forgotten account, speak to the person you kept postponing. The command is not an excuse to be passive. It is a way to enter the day more aligned, more alert, and more willing to cooperate with what begins to unfold. And this is where people miss it. They expect abundance to fall from the sky in one dramatic moment, and because it does not always arrive that way, they overlook the sequence. First comes the shift inside, then come the signs around you. A conversation suddenly matters, an old contact reaches out, a stalled issue moves, an idea becomes clear. A refund appears. Someone remembers they owe you money. You find a path you ignored before. These things can look ordinary, but ordinary is often how breakthrough enters. The first 24 hours are often subtle. Stay sharp. The next stretch can feel like resistance. Old fear rises, doubt gets louder, an unexpected bill appears, a delay hits, something in you wants to say, see, it's not working. That moment is crucial because what if that friction is just the old pattern reacting? What if the pressure is not proof of failure, but proof that your usual money story is being challenged? Do not break the practice there. Keep going. Keep your words clean. Keep your focus steady. Then, somewhere in that wider 72-hour window, movement often becomes visible. Not always millions, not always fireworks, but enough to show you that something has shifted. And once you get one result, even a small one, your relationship with the practice changes. It stops being theory. It becomes personal. It becomes embodied. It becomes something you remember not because someone told you, but because you watched it happen in your own life. And that is when confidence grows. Quietly, solidly, for real. If you want to deepen the effect, repeat the practice for 9 straight days. 9 days gives the mind time to stop resisting and the body time to settle into a new rhythm. It also stops you from treating abundance like a panic button you press only when fear peaks. Instead, it becomes a discipline of alignment. Every day you speak the phrase, hold the vision, stand in stillness, and walk into action. Day by day, the old shame around receiving weakens. Day by day, your attention becomes sharper. Day by day, you stop acting like overflow belongs to everyone else. And if something comes in during that cycle, no matter the amount, receive it well. Do not mock the beginning because it did not match your fantasy. Honor the movement. 100 can open the door to more. A small paid debt can rebuild trust in the process. A single opportunity can become a long stream. The point is not to sneer at the first sign because it is not dramatic enough. The point is to recognize that flow often starts with a crack in the wall, then widens. And here is another key. As abundance arrives, let some of it move outward. Give, help, support, circulate, not from pressure, not from guilt, from understanding. Energy that only clings tends to harden. Energy that moves stays alive. That does not mean reckless spending. It means refusing to let fear turn every blessing into a prison. Let what comes in remind you that provision is meant to move through wise hands, not die in a clenched fist. There is also an emotional layer many people do not talk about. Money is rarely just money. It touches safety, identity, childhood memory, self-worth, control, love, freedom, and fear all at once. That is why two people can hear the same phrase and have completely different reactions. One feels hope, another feels guilt. One feels possibility, another feels danger. So when you practice this command, you may notice more than external signs. You may notice inner material rising too. old family beliefs, old sentences, old embarrassment. Maybe you were taught that rich people are selfish. Maybe you learned that needing more means you failed. Maybe you watched money create conflict. So now part of you links abundance with pain. Be honest about that. Because if you do not see those beliefs, they keep talking under the surface while your mouth says one thing and your nervous system says another. The phrase helps expose that split. It brings the hidden argument into the light. And once it is visible, you can stop feeding it. You can say, that story is old. That fear is not my future. I choose a cleaner relationship with provision. This is one reason the practice can feel powerful even before obvious results show up. It reveals where your own language has been working against you. It shows you where you have been cursing what you actually want. And once you stop doing that, once your inner speech starts matching your desire instead of fighting it, your life gains force. Real force. Not noisy force, clear force, the kind that makes decisions easier and movement faster. So the deeper message is not simply say these words and wait for magic. It is this: stop bowing to lack. Stop glorifying exhaustion. Stop acting as if being drained makes you pure. There is nothing noble about living in constant panic when peace, provision, and room to breathe would help you love better, think better, serve better, and build better. Abundance is not the final goal, but it can remove chains that keep people trapped in fear. It can fund generosity. It can create options. It can protect time. It can restore dignity. It can help a person finally focus on purpose instead of permanent emergency. That is why this message lands so strongly. It does not worship money. It puts money back in its place, a tool, a current, a resource, something to direct, not something to fear. And the phrase at the heart of this teaching is a reminder that your voice matters in that process. Your words are not empty. Your expectation is not empty. Your repeated focus is not empty. Every day, you are speaking something over your life anyway. Every day, you are naming what you expect, what you fear, and what you believe you deserve. The only question is whether those words are building a field of openness or a cage of scarcity. Be honest, listen to your own language for one day, and you will hear the pattern. Then choose differently. That choice alone is powerful, more powerful than most people realize. So tonight or tomorrow at dawn, stand up and try it with full presence, not casually, not half asleep in spirit, with intention, with calm, with dignity. Hand over your center, breath steady, vision clear, and say it 3 times like someone who is done rehearsing lack. Mamona tavo alai. Then hold the silence. Let your body learn reception. Let your mind stop arguing. Let the day unfold. Watch for the nudge. Watch for the opening. Watch for the return. Watch for the idea that suddenly has heat on it. And when something shifts, do not brush it aside. Mark it. Remember it. Build from it. If the first result is small, bless it and keep moving. If resistance comes, keep your posture. If fear rises, do not surrender your words back to scarcity. Keep going, because this is about more than one phrase. It is about reclaiming the right to live resourced, clear, and unashamed. You do not have to crawl toward provision as if peace belongs to other people. You do not have to make a home inside lack. You do not have to keep speaking defeat over your future. There is another posture, stronger, cleaner, freer. And once you feel it, you will know the difference. So if this resonated, stay with the practice. Come back after 3 days and notice what moved. Notice what opened. Notice what returned to life. Because sometimes everything changes the moment you stop begging and finally start speaking like you were meant to receive.